Mr. Right took it like both of them. They took it like a champ.
I'm starting to tear up now.
What's going on, everybody? For Answer Band, I'm Mr. Right. This is Mr. Dietz, whatever. And you're watching Spicy Individuals, the show with hot questions and even hotter chicken nuggets. Today we are joined by both Mr. Gregg and Mr. Ramsey. You know them as the band directors at Killeen High School. Welcome to the show. How are you guys with spicy food?
It's going to be an interesting day.
Yeah, to say the least, yeah.
How about you, Mr. Dietz?
I don't like spicy food.
I grew up
fair.
with spicy food, but as I've gotten older, my tolerance has gone way down.
Yeah,
So
it's
this,
kind of a mixed bag. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
It's a mixed bag.
I finally got to the point where I can tolerate jalapenos, so I'm going up.
Okay. So, if you haven't seen the real show, there's a real show called Hot Ones, interview style show where before every question we eat a spicy wing or nugget or whatever, and they get progressively hotter. There's 10 of them. So you have to take a bite of each one. If you eat the whole thing, bonus points, but at least a nibble of each nugget. And there's stuff to drink. If you need to say, like, I'm done after 8, it's okay.
so these two are the ones that are going to kill us.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
find out.
Killen's relative.
Okay.
I do want to throw out there to the kids that Mr. Wright made several of these sauces, so this is a form of torture from him.
It hurts me too.
This is payback for all the grief Mr. Dietz and I give him.
Maybe so. So this is, we'll have a graphic, but this is Cristal hot sauce. It's a classic, like Louisiana, very like Tabasco. First
So
question.
far.
Hanging in there. First question, for both of you, how would you guys describe like the spirit or the driving force of the Killeen High School band program? Open to broad interpretation.
I know we've talked about this before. We just
I'll
had
let
that
you-
conversation.
I'll let you go first, and then I'll
So I asked that question a couple of months ago when I was reading Scott Lang's one of Scott Lang's books when I talked about the soul of the organization, and I've only been around here for 2 years, and so it's interesting to get people's different perspectives on it. And so when I asked that question, most everybody that responded back to me said just the word family, and it made me just sit back and go, okay, why? And as I look at our organization all the way from our middle schools, when they start in 6th grade with y'all and Miss Rollins, as well as Miss Dominguez over at Audie Murphy, it's setting up this community that they can depend on each other all the way up until high school.
Well, I mean, and to give you perspective, I mean, on the other end of that, obviously being here for 2 years and me being here for 16, it's been a very a good experience. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of mirror from the very beginning was that aspect of family. I wanted our kids to believe that from the time they're in middle school, when they start their band experience, all the way up to high school, they'll have a network of friends and family that they can count on all the way through, all the way till they get past their senior year. I mean, I definitely have had former students come back and say how like they enjoyed their time in band and they wish they were doing band right now, but you know, obviously they got older and being adults and whatnot. And I always try to use my own personal experience. Like one of my best friends, I've known her for over 25 years at this point. We met in band. And you know, and we talk every day. So it's like it's one of those things that has been like the driving force for me is that you connect, like your band is your family, and you know, no matter what goes on, we're there for each other the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's definitely something that, like you said, we strive for at the middle school level.
For sure. I should slide this. All right, second wing. So this is sriracha, which classic, like maybe overdone sauce, but it's
Number
pretty good.
2.
That maybe should have been number 1. It's like sweet.
It's still a little bit spicier than
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a notch up.
So, question number 2, Mr. Gregg, this is for you. So, Mr. Gregg, we know that you are fluent in American Sign Language. What led you to learn that? Do you find yourself implementing it in a way that you teach and communicate?
let me answer the second part of that question first.
Please.
And the answer is very much yes, all the time. Current band students and even former band students will tell you, I talk with my hands anyway, just normally, and that's just an added, I guess, addition to that, however you want to call it. They'll tell you, like, in marching band, like, a lot of times I use hand signs for different songs that we play in the stands, or, you know, even if we're in just regular concert band, like, I'll do something. And sometimes I don't think they realize that the hand sign for something is an actual sign in sign language.
Yeah.
And then they gotta go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, that connects. And so, and it like, I mean, it's just a part of who I am. So it just makes it easier. It's like a lot of times when we can't, like if our PA system doesn't work or whatever, I'll just do a hand sign and they go, oh, and then they'll talk it up to each other and we go, okay, now I know we're playing.
Yeah.
So it works as a benefit in that way. A real unique story about how I got involved with that was believe it or not, is a band story. So there was a young lady that came into our band when I was in high school she wasn't totally deaf, but she was hard of hearing. And she was a flute player. So she could hear all like high pitches, high frequencies or whatever, but everything else was like nothing at all. And so, you know, through having conversation with her, like, and she could speak, but she also knew sign. So that kind of started that, like, me getting interested in it. And then as I got to college, like, I started to go, okay, this is something I really like to do. So I started taking a lot of classes, and I wanted to be an interpreter. In addition to, like I was kind of in the middle between a band director and an interpreter, and so I just continued to do it. And so then, once you know, start getting into band directing full time, like, it got less and less easy to try to get involved with interpreting. But I'm still involved with, like, the Texas School for the Deaf. Like, I have been a counselor at a hard of hearing camp and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't sign as much, but like I said, my kids will tell you now that on a regular, you know, and it has other benefits too. Like, it forces you to have eye contact with folks all the time. So even when I'm talking to you guys, and I talk to them, I say, look, you know, you got to have eyes on people so you know what's going on. So it worked out that way.
That's awesome. I mean, I didn't realize that it was a band connection. So
which blows me. I'm like, wait, how did that work out?
It goes back to that thing about it all being family, because you had to take care of each other from
exactly.
really on.
And like I said, the young lady that dropped in, you know, she didn't know really anybody, but like as we all started trying to get to know each other, that's kind of how that kind of meshed it together. So.
That's cool.
That's awesome. All right, so third wing this is called Aint Yo Ancho, because it's got ancho chilies in it, and chipotle. So
does it move the right direction?
Yes, mild Mexican inspired.
So far, I'm not too worried.
It's not bad.
The kick on the back of the sriracha was
some of these like slow.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramsey, this question's for you. You once described banana pudding as your one true love. So, is it still your favorite dessert, and what makes it so special for you?
The reason I love banana pudding so much is just because the combination of the vanilla wafer, the sweet vanilla pudding with the bananas. And you got to have that whipped cream on it. The Paula Deen banana pudding. Thank you, Jesus.
Like it feels like he's excited, like really excited as he's describing it right now.
I'm not. My mouth is starting to salivate, not just because this is hot. My love for banana pudding comes from my love of Tennessee barbecue, and that's a staple in Tennessee barbecue, as well as Carolina barbecue. I don't know about Missouri. Texas barbecue, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
It's very, very different, but it does come from that love of the pairing of barbecue and banana pudding.
Yeah. That's awesome. Something we can do every day.
That was funny. It was like, this is awesome. Let me tell you.
They're not all serious questions.
Right.
Okay, so number 4 here, this is peach habanero. So.
All right.
Taste the peach.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It went on pretty light, so it may not be super hot.
So this question is for both of you. Oh, there it is.
You give it a second.
Just go. It's hitting my lips, not so much my mouth.
And it's coming up from behind. was not ready. So marching band is a major part of being in a high school marching band. You were both involved in drum corps, and were you? And we know you're both still big fans in competitive marching arts. How does the past and present DCI inform the way you teach your marching band?
Well, I think that as specifically DCI as it continues to evolve, I think that we try to emulate some of those same things. Now, granted, I'll be the first one to say that a high school marching band and a drum corps are two totally different animals. Not really compared from one to the other.
For sure.
Because there's a lot more that's involved with like a drum corps show versus a marching band show. Although there are some cool things that I know that we glean from different drum corps that we go, okay, we might be able to try that, whether it's like a visual thing or a choreography thing or whatever. And another thing for me as a sticking point is I try to tell the kids, those kids are the same age as you, or around the same age as you. So they're capable to be that focused and being able to do those types of things. That's not really that much different from what you could do if you really put your mind to it. So I think that's a big part of it, because a lot of times they'll see all of that stuff. They'll see a DCI show, a drum corps show, and go, man, that's amazing. Like, how are they doing all that? And granted, we talk about the amount of rehearsal hours they have versus a high school band. Then you kind of get into that. But like the fact that like they're the same age, I'm just like, look, you can be capable of that.
Yeah. And the numbers in drum corps, so a drum corps is capped at 153 members right now. 150 marchers on the field. That includes color guard, drum line, front ensemble, and brass. And then you've got 3. They added 3 extra for if they wanted more drum majors or so on and so forth. And so with our Kangaroo team, both varsity and JV, and with the entire band, it's about the same numbers. So you've got to have some sort of system to run a program like that and get them moving, because we are a mobile unit. We take them on the road every week. We have to get them outside to rehearse every week. Each person has a specific job that they're assigned to, that they're expected to do. And there's a chain of command, and in drum corps, if you don't follow that chain of command, things fall apart. And so I feel like we've designed, with our handbook, especially with that chain of command going from first year marcher to a veteran to the officers and then up to us, our officers do a really good job of trying to enforce that, because, especially this past year, they did a really good job of communicating from the younger members up to us, whether that was good things or issues that we had to deal with on a basis, as well as rehearsals, because if you have 150 people all talking at once, that doesn't work in a rehearsal. And so that's why we started this check and adjust, and making sure that they're paying attention to instruction in the field, being quick and efficient with what we're doing and where we're going.
I think like to Mr. Ramsey's point, we've actually been fortunate to have some drum corps like to rehearse around our area, so we can watch them rehearse. Not so just for the show aspect, but specifically what they do in a rehearsal, and try to pull some of those things out and go, that's a really good idea. Let's make that happen on, with our high school kids, because the difference between, like, one of the big differences, like I said, is rehearsal time. In a drum corps, it's like all day long. But in high school, you've got your classes and homework and all of that, and a football game on top of that. So it's a different animal, but there are some things that you can pull to go, that kind of are universal across both. So.
Okay, so number 5, the sauce is called pickled pepper. This is
Peter Piper's pickled pepper?
It just tastes like pickled peppers. I don't know. So there we go. It's a fermented sauce. I made that one a while ago, actually. And it's got, I think it has New Mexico, like hatch chili in it.
Okay.
I feel the flame on that one a little bit more.
Like the green chilies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're not super hot, but like together they kind of come up a little bit. Okay, so for this next thing, we have a recurring segment on this show that we filmed once called Explain That Gram, where we pull photos from social media that need a little bit more context. So we have 2 pictures for each of you here. So we'll have them on the screen at the same time. We just wanted you guys to kind of explain what's going on or give context to the photo. So the first one is for Mr. Gregg.
First one, Mr. Gregg.
What? You've never seen
I've never seen this.
Are you serious? Oh my god!
I don't think we follow each other on anything but like
I thought
Facebook.
we followed like everything.
Maybe I don't know. Look at
Wow.
Although the guy behind you needs to work on his carriage.
Well, I couldn't turn around and tell him that, so it was wow. Okay, well, I mean, so to give you a little context, and I talk about my high school band experience a lot because it was really great, and I had really good. Great band directors. My band director from high school, Mr. Don Haynes, is somebody who I talk about and talk to on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And my senior year, we were fortunate enough to get invited to perform at the New Year's Day parade in London, England. And it was the first time that particular band, their school's band, had went overseas for a trip.
Wow.
And so, and I don't know what prompted. Well, I do know what prompted it. So we. We did our UIL competitive show and all that kind of stuff, and we had different costumes as drum majors for that. Like our uniforms were very different than these old school ones right here, and so we wanted to look more uniform. And so they had those for drum majors up in our closet of band stuff. And so we found there was 3 of us, and we found 3 that fit. And so we spent about a week in London, but we had to we fundraised for about a year and a half before that in order to make sure that we had enough funds to go. And we left the day after Christmas and got back the day after New Year's.
That's awesome.
And it was a really awesome trip. We got to see a bunch of different things and it was just a really, really cool experience for everybody. I mean, and I was in the parade, so somebody took that picture, and then I was like, okay, I need that.
That's a great photo.
Yeah, thanks. Wow. Yeah, you can tell. Look at how old school all the youth.
Right. All right, Mr. Ramsey.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Here we go.
So that was at the school that I worked at before I got to Killeen, and that was at Central High School. It's actually my parents' alma mater. My parents went there back in the 70s, graduated in the late 70s and 80s, and so there's a style of playing called bopping, and so when I introduced that to that band, they thought it was the weirdest thing ever when I would say, all right, let's bop it. And so I had one of my students Photoshop my face onto a Bop It toy and hand it to me as a present. So
that is fantastic.
Wow. And I had never seen that one before. Look at that. Wow.
To promote our research team.
Right. Shout out, yes.
Go teams.
Shout out to the research team. Dang.
Okay, so Mr. Gregg,
Oh, boy.
the next photo is for you.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I think I was there for that.
Yes. Well, you
Yeah,
hopefully.
I think that was my first football game with Killeen High School.
That's cool.
Really? Okay.
Because was this Stony Point?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was my first football game with Killeen High School.
That's awesome.
Okay. So, that gentleman that I'm standing next to, his name is Corey Sanders. He was a drum major when I was when I went to LBJ in high school. Again, I had a wonderful high school experience, and we have stayed connected through this entire time. And we kind of have a drum major club, if you will, former drum majors and whatnot. And we had kind of reached out to each other before that game because to come full circle, he has a son that plays football for Stony Point.
Okay.
And ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, I have another friend that I marched with along with the band who had a daughter that was in the band at Stony Point. So all of that was going on at the same time. But we had made we reached out to each other and said, hey, we need to connect. Because it's rare that we're in the same space at the same time. Yeah. And so we just, like I said, we connected together, and I introduced him to the band and stuff. And I was like, this guy was my drum major a long time ago. And, here we are right now. So it was really cool to get to talk to him face to face because we kind of talked via Facebook and texting and all that.
Yeah.
So it was just really cool. Like I said, he said he was proud of, me and being a band director and thought the band was awesome and did a good job and all that. So it was, like I said, full circle where that belief of being family comes from. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, and last picture for Mr. Ramsey.
Oh boy,
Talk to the mic.
I'm scared. I'm scared for you.
Mr. Dietz is smirking.
Right. Oh! Wow.
So this is, I actually made that. Because one Miss made quite a few comparisons to me and SpongeBob. Several students would bring up that photo and show it to me, and so I don't know if it was you or somebody else to take a picture of me.
No, it wasn't me because I don't remember that picture.
Oh, okay. I think was that a game? I think that was a game day,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing jeans, so it must have been Friday. So I always do No Shave November. Always on October 31st, I shave off my beard, and then I look like I'm 12 again. Even though most of the kids were like, "You're older than Mr. Gregg, right?"
Which is so weird. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, how does that even work? I mean, I'll take it, but I'm just like, I don't see how. Like, I don't get it. Well, and that causes quite the stir every time that he does. The last 2 years, every time that he's done that, everybody's like, oh my god, did you? I'm like,
That first year though,
that was like
it broke them.
Like shook the earth. Like that like turned the band on its head.
Number 6.
Number 6. I don't know if I'm ready.
Pineapple ghost pepper.
Oh,
So
no!
Before there's only 2 ghost peppers and a very large amount of the sauce, so it's fairly diluted. It's not super
only
bad.
2 ghost peppers. I already feel it.
I don't even know if I can chew this.
We're not friends anymore.
I'll allow it.
Talking about this is more like a swallow.
It wasn't even like a ghost. It just appeared.
Number 6.
Okay.
Scoville scale. Pretty high.
So, Mr. Ramsey, is it true that you had a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig named Hamlet as a pet?
A Vietnamese potbelly pig.
Hey, you know how good I am with my English. What was it like? How did this compare to a dog or a cat?
I thought you were about to say, how did it taste? But
No. I mean, you are from Tennessee,
It's like bacon. Bacon to death.
so I'm allergic to cats and dogs, and my mom is too, and so we're not allergic to pigs, and so my parents did the research and decided, I'm feeling the ghost pepper now.
Yep.
My parents decided, hey, let's get a potbelly pig. They're docile. They make good pets, and so we went to a farm up the road that was selling them, and we found Hamlet. Yes, I had a pig named Hamlet. I'm the one that named it because I was 3 years old, I think.
Wow.
And so Hamlet started off like this small, like just itty bitty, cute pig. But the thing is, pigs are not as forgiving as dogs. They remember everything. And so he was moody. And when I was 3 years old, I thought you could he was like a mini horse that you could ride around the yard. That was not the case.
Wow.
Poor guy.
Wow.
But we had him from when I was like 3 years old up until when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and he was just getting too big. He would escape the yard sometimes and just go waddling down the street, and we'd get a phone call because we were the only family in our huge neighborhood in the suburbs. I didn't live on a farm. It had a big backyard.
Sounds very
But we were
nice.
definitely in the suburbs, although it was called Broadacres. And we get a call, hey, your pig's down the road. He had rooted underneath or escaped, and so he was a sweet pig, but he was miserable, especially when it got cold. So we sent him to a farm for pet pigs.
Yeah.
Because you can't eat Vietnamese potbelly pigs once they get old. Their meat gets too tough, and so it's just they're mainly pets unless they're piglets, and then they're bacon. And so,
Just being honest.
and so we sent him to a farm in Kentucky called Safe Harbor.
Oh,
Yeah,
very cute.
yeah, and that's the story of Hamlet.
All right, our next sauce from the home stretch now. So this one is, I call it umami explosion because it has habaneros, black garlic, and white miso in it, and it tastes
Why's
weird.
it got to be white miso?
That's all I have.
Like,
I didn't have
just
any
regular
miso.
miso. I got no.
Depends on the soybean, how long they ferment it. Anyway.
still waiting for the back. I feel it now.
Yeah.
We're not gonna eat that whole one.
Right.
We're gonna leave it be.
Oh,
That's all right.
oh.
I'm hanging in there.
Because I know I have to prep myself for these next 3, and I don't want to put.
I think the good news is after 8, you won't taste it. I think after number 8, you won't taste 9 and 10. So
Tap out.
it's all right. Okay, so
Tap out.
our next question for Mr. Gregg. We know that you're a big fan of trivia, and I've even heard that you are undefeated at Pluckers and never lost.
Whoa!
So we just wanted to know, like, what is your strongest or favorite category of trivia? If there is one.
Well, let me clear some stuff up first. No, we are not undefeated, although we have a high win percentage. That's pretty close. Well, and real I don't even remember when we started this like years ago, but Pluckers has this trivia night every week, which is a matter of fact is going on today, where we have a team of all teachers, mostly teachers, and everybody from all different fields, like science teachers and all that, history teachers or whatever, and we tend to do pretty well. We usually come in first or second, almost every time, and every time you win. If you get first, you get a $100 gift card from Pluckers, and we save all of them up and then just kind of splurge on everybody at the end. I think I know more useless trivia than most people I know. Fun fact: I literally watch Jeopardy every single day. That's my decompressed time. As soon as I come home, it's like clockwork. So I'm pretty versed around across the board. I think, but. Movies/movie quotes are probably my strongest category. It's usually the first one we have, and I usually can knock most of them out. If somebody gives out a quote, I can probably tell you where it's from. So, yes.
Mr. Wright, I'm very uncomfortable.
Okay. So this one will be your read, but if we need to get through it together, that's fine.
I mean, we'll see.
Okay. Remember, it's just a bite, not
No, I'm
the whole wing.
in it to win it.
Okay.
And do it all.
All right. So this one is called the Bong. This is always the 8th sauce on the real show, so I bought it from
Or the
Amazon.
pig show.
Yeah, for this.
Man.
It is just habaneros and chipotles, but it also has pepper extract in it, which is what makes it so hot versus a regular habanero sauce.
Is my face red yet?
Not yet, but it's I'm sure it's on the way.
This is what our face will look like.
Yeah, this is very red. After you touch this wing, do not touch your face.
Yes.
Can I get a nap?
Cheers. Yeah.
I'm gonna prepare
Bless you.
myself.
Absolutely.
I'm tapped out. Do I need to call the paramedics?
Now, it doesn't taste good. The rest of the sauces should at least be palatable. That one's
What is the point of that?
Look, Mr. Wright took both of them. They took it like a champ.
I'm starting to tear up now.
It's gonna.
Oh, once it hit the back of your throat. Oh.
Yep. Don't touch your eyes.
Don't touch your eyes or your face.
It's gonna linger for a while. Take a lap, Mr. Dietz.
Nelly.
So.
No. I'm sorry.
Mr. Dietz is over there.
He had to take a minute. I'm a lightweight.
See, you calling me out.
I'm a lightweight. I'm just saying. He said I had to get up. It was, man.
Okay. I'm gonna start the read. Okay. This is going to sound like I'm pandering a little.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah.
But I've heard both of you say that one of your favorite parts about being a teacher at Killeen High School is the students you get to work with. So can you guys just expand on that for us?
In a second.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in because, like I said, I didn't take the plunge like everybody else, and just say, as they work through it, I think that all the schools in Killeen, like the band programs, have great kids in them. Obviously, I'm biased with Killeen, and I just think me personally, again, I don't spend a lot of time with the other schools, but I can say that my experience with talking to other other people outside of our program said that our kids are really, really respectful. They're really, really nice. They're polite. They represent themselves well, and the band program that they come from. I don't think Mr. Wright's gonna it must have been. Yeah, I'm like. Said I had to lay up. I'm sorry. I couldn't. I could not make it through.
Why?
That's just cool. Sorry.
And yet they want to continue. So they want to go further. Nope. All right.
Okay. I really enjoy how honest our kids are.
Yeah.
And how upfront they are. There's no, I don't feel like our kids are fake. I feel like we can be ourselves around them and they're going to be themselves around us. I mean, there's always that student-teacher relationship. But I tell all my friends back in Tennessee how great our kids are at Killeen High School and how, and respectful is the right word because they are respectful. They know, but a lot of them know that line. Some of them we have to teach that line of, okay. Right. Here's the line. Here's where you've jumped across it.
Right.
There are several names I could name, and if they watch this, they will know who I'm talking about.
Yes, you will.
Right. Well, and I think that's the crown jewel of that is that we make it a point to stress that no matter what the situation is, respect is at the very primal part of that. Because it's I always say that you can have whatever your opinion is your opinion as long as you present it in a respectful way. I can respect that, and I'll listen to what you have to say. And I always ask them, just be honest. We can't fix things, or if things are going right, then we want to support that. And if things we need to fix as directors, we need you to be honest. But in that, it has to be respectful. And I think all of our kids have fallen in line with that, and they understand that. And
even when they look at you and go, Mr. Ramsey, you're lucky we like you.
Right, yeah. It's true. It's true. Well, but the funny part of that, too, is that a lot of times they'll go to Mr. Ramsey first before they come to me if they have an issue or whatever. They'll express an opinion, which is weird because I'm just my door is always open. We're a busy group, but I always make time, and if you just say, "Hey, look, here's what's going on," I'm like, "All right." So I think that, and again, I don't know how the other programs operate in that respect. I just know that I've gotten other people to come back to us and say, "Your kids are, they're really, really polite and they're respectful and they love what they do and they enjoy their time."
How do you go from this to this? This is 0 to 60. In 0.25 seconds.
It's hard to scale.
Wow.
All right, 2 more. So.
I was supposed to read that last one.
Yeah, you can read
By the way,
it's shorter.
Mr. Wright's revenge is working.
My stomach hurts.
Okay.
Don't do this at home, children.
No, don't. So this ninth sauce is a fermented one that I made. It's one of the first sauces I made. It is Carolina Reapers and ghost peppers just together.
Oh my God!
So I honestly don't think it's going to be as bad as the bomb. It's not. It's definitely not on there as thick.
I don't know. I'm having trust issues right now, Mr. Wright.
Remember that it's just a bite. You don't have to do the whole thing.
Okay.
Unless you're really feeling it. So here we go.
Well, now that my mouth is numb, you're right.
It's hard to surpass the bomb.
I just tasted nuggy.
I feel a little bit now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that. See, I took a bite and we're done.
This is for both of you.
Wow.
Okay. For both of you. Okay. Who is your favorite composer, and why is it Claude T. Smith?
Listen up. My favorite composer isn't even Claude T. Smith. Not even for band. I love Claude T. Smith.
There we go.
You really want me to rant about Mahler for the next 30 minutes?
Wow.
You can give us the Cliff Notes version.
So,
That's a tough one. I don't know.
We'll let you pick 3 if you can't go to 1. But
Okay.
So my three favorite composers are Gustav Mahler, Sergei Rachmaninoff, and this is a new one to the top three, but Christopher Tin. So Gustav Mahler was a German composer who lived from 1860 up until 1911. He was the first, one of the first conductors of what we now know as the New York Philharmonic. But he always considered that a symphony should be like the world; it has to contain everything. And he was the most extra composer of his time, just trying to add in everything, like bird calls and cowbells and giant hammers that people had to make that he would call the hammer of fate, that he included just because he could.
Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted, and his interpretations of other people's music, he didn't care what the composer had put on the page. He did what he thought the music should sound like, and I ascribe to that as well. Just because I feel like it's our job to interpret the music, not just reproduce what's on the page.
Yeah.
And then that's also part of my love of Claude T. Smith. But Rachmaninoff mainly wrote for piano, but he was a Russian composer. He died in the 1930s or 40s, I believe. But his last concert was actually in Knoxville, Tennessee, my hometown.
Oh, wow.
We have a statue of him downtown to commemorate that. But he writes just such emotional and beautiful music for such an awkward, silent Russian man. And then Christopher Tin is a video game composer.
Yeah.
Who wrote for Civilization, but he writes orchestral works. He's got two concept albums. One is called Calling All Dawns, and the other one is called The Drop That Contained the Sea. And I'll be honest, I've listened to The Drop That Contains the Sea on repeat for the past 2 summers, just because it's a, it sounds weird. It's a song cycle about the water cycle. But he uses indigenous music and instruments and tribes and to evoke that feeling of the water coming down to earth and the hope that it restores life. So, yeah. I like other things besides classical, but they ask composers. If you ask my three favorite artists, that'd be a whole different thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and I think it's fair to say that Mr. Ramsey is like the music history buff of the group right now.
For sure.
He definitely will break down like a bunch of different information about it that even I, like every time we talk in the office, I'm like, I didn't know that at all. Well, I think probably for me, and I'll give 3 just because, I mean, my listening taste is very all over the map, like eclectic, all across the board. So I will say, in like, I guess like a beginning, middle, end, like one of the first ones, another Gustav, but not Gustav Mahler. Gustav Holst is one of my favorite composers, and because I really started getting into classical music specifically, even when I was in middle school, the planets just stuck out to me right out the gate. And I've had like a long history with the planets, if you will, all the way up until when I got into high school, and I'm a euphonium player, but in a real quick short story, I really wanted to be in the orchestra, but the euphonium is not an orchestral instrument. But my orchestra director at the time, Miss Williams, she was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of like a tenor tube?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's the same thing as a euphonium." She's like, "Well, do you want to play in the orchestra?" And I literally, and she will tell you to this day, I literally like jumped up and down the hall. Because I was so excited because I really wanted to play in the orchestra, and that was the piece that was kind of the end. And then after that, our orchestra won All-State Honor Orchestra for that next year. So we performed the TMEA, like I performed the TMEA twice that same year. Once for the All-State Honor Band for euphonium, and then again as the All-State Honor Orchestra. So I have very like big ties to that piece. Specifically, but there's a lot of other things that I love from Gustav Holst as well. So there's that one, and I would say, as cliche as it is, my middle is John Williams. I'm a huge movie fan, and I can't imagine any of the most popular movies that most of us have seen without his imprint on it.
Yeah.
You know, can you try watching a Star Wars movie without a soundtrack from John Williams? And it just doesn't work.
Not the same.
Like, it's not like, you know, so many iconic themes in that movie, in those movies, Jaws, whatever. And so, as cliche as it is, I'm like, you know, a huge John Williams fan. So, and you know, still is, and all that good stuff. And then the last one is a little more, I guess, a little more current. Mark Hamphouse is a really good composer, in my opinion. He wrote a piece that really kind of resonated with me called "The Movement for Rosa," and one of my favorite pieces was because it like able to describe musically a lot of different feelings and emotions or whatever for me. And it was, I mean, and I played that piece several times before, and every time I get like real emotional about it because it's just a really powerful piece. So, and that, like I said, there's many other ones, but those are ones that kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, they like to harp on me about liking Claude T. Smith because I love just about anything that he's written, and then they give me grief about it because, you know, that's what friends do.
It's fun. So any of those composers you should look up if you can't think of music they've written, like just look them up and listen to them. It's all good stuff. So,
For sure.
it's time.
I'm not okay.
No.
So
Hashtag no.
for this last sauce,
Is it death in a bottle?
well, I
Yes.
I wrote it down somewhere. I'm just
Orange
calling
Thunder.
this Carolina Reapers in a bottle. It's just what I'm calling it.
Is that really what it is?
Is it
Basically.
Is it So Fear
So-
the Reaper?
Yeah, so Carolina Reapers. This is another one that I made.
I'll tell you, they all look like lab science experiments the way that these bottles are set up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So this is just the Carolina Reaper is one of the hottest peppers in the world. This sauce, if you like, you list ingredients by most to least, and so the first ingredient is Carolina Reapers on this one, and then it goes garlic, vinegar, salt. I honestly think it's like the bomb's gonna give it a run for its money, but it's tradition around here to put a dab on the last wing, so you don't have to, but
Oh my gosh.
Even though you've already soaked it
a
in
little bit
it.
of extra. Yeah. So optional, last dab, up to you. It's very thick, so you're gonna have to work for it. But there you go. Nice.
Insanity.
That finger's poison now.
No sir. No sir. Y'all, I yield. I yield.
All right.
Could you pass me a napkin? Sorry, before we do the deed.
And do I need to get 911
Kev.
and speed up?
I think we're good.
Bless y'all. Well, 10 seconds in. Didn't take long. Ooh.
Okay. Nope, not done.
I think it definitely doesn't hit you as strong as this.
But it's
immediately.
creeping. And
Is it reaping?
And the super hot peppers tend to be builders, not like right out the gate. So you can taste that same kind of heat overall. All right, so we're on the top of proverbial Spice Mountain here as we've finished our plates. But
Top of Spice Mountain.
our last question, I guess, is for both of you, what advice would you give a student at any level that is considering music as a career?
so
Oh, go ahead. I was waiting for you to.
So I let my passion become my job. Sometimes when you let your passion become your job, it overtakes your life. If you decide that music is your passion and you want it to become your job, you have to make sure that you add other things in there so that it doesn't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Because music can easily do that.
I think also another part of that is that there is definitely more to it than meets the eye. There's a lot of behind the scenes that you have to be aware of, and going in, because like Mr. Ramsey said, like having a passion be your job, it definitely can consume your whole everything that you do. So you have to find other avenues too in order to other things that you're interested in order to continue to continue to do your passion. And always try to build on your craft. Like learn as much as you can. I'm like the senior member of the group, pun intended, but I always feel like I can always learn something from each of the directors here, and hopefully vice versa. So it's a long process throughout. So never stop learning.
Definitely.
Ow.
Well, that's it. Mr. Dietz and I would like to thank both of you guys for humoring us and coming on our show today.
And for being PG on your show.
Right. Yes. Well, and thank y'all for inviting us. This is cool.
Yes.
This is so cool.
This is fun.
Very, very awesome.